Hi, this is Peter DeWitt, and I just thought I would sit down and try to give an overview of what is somatic therapy. A lot of people ask me, what is that? What is somatic therapy? And I'm usually at a loss for immediate words. So I want to attempt to give an overview. Hopefully this will give you a better sense of what it is, who it's for, the history of it, etc. The first thing is somatic. Somatic is a word that means of the body. It's a Greek root, soma. With somatic therapy, we're really helping clients to process the states of fight, flight, freeze that are inhibiting them from fully engaging in life, right? Releasing stuck energy that's in the body through a process. So we'll talk about that process in a bit. Really, it's a bunch of tools and approaches that help the client to regulate their emotions and their body to really be able to, like I said, fully engage in life and to release any stuck energy. So right now, can you notice your body? Maybe can you notice the temperature in the room? The sensation of fabric on your body, right? Whatever you're wearing. Your feeling state, right? And as I talk about this, just notice what comes up for you, okay? I'm gonna go into detail here and just stay present with the body if you can, okay? Let's talk about the difference between somatic therapy and cognitive approaches, right? So cognitive models like cognitive behavioral therapy or dialectical behavior, CBT, DBT, etc., are really about noticing the negative thought patterns and shifting the narrative, the story, the beliefs, right? And replacing them with more helpful ones. That's all powerful and helpful. Somatic therapy is emphasizing, this huge domain of embodied experience, right? The moment-to-moment unfolding of what the body is telling us, the wisdom of the body, right? So there are a lot of body-based exercises, looking at movement, gesture, imagery, all of these things that arise in this moment-to-moment unfolding from the body. It's a totally different approach than cognitive, but I just want to say that I see the cognitive as part of a holistic somatic therapy model. We have to talk about trauma if we're going to talk about somatic therapy. Trauma is the response to a deeply distressing event that overwhelms our ability to cope with life. It diminishes our sense of self. We feel more contracted. That's kind of a more clinical definition. Another definition that my mentor, Steve Hoskinson, gives is trauma is a part of us that is in the past. It's stuck in another place, in another time. But let's talk about what, in the broader sense, somatic therapy can help with, which will include trauma. Some issues that somatic therapy works with to address are events, so like a car accident or physical assault or any kind of impact, right, to the nervous system. Emotional abuse, any kind of emotional abuse from relationships of any kind. Childhood trauma, events that are ready to be released from our childhood. Sexual issues, sexual dysfunction. Emotional dysregulation or emotional overload. That is like an excess of anger and rage, panic attacks, fear, anxiety, etc. And then we have chronic syndromal issues like fibromyalgia, IBS, sleep problems, lack of energy, dissociation, headaches, right? These are all body-based syndromes that somatic therapy can really work with. Okay, let me try to give a brief history of where and how this started with a couple book recs. Peter Levine was doing research in the 70s on mammals and their behavior, and he was observing their fight, flight, freeze patterns. And then over the years, he, along with other therapists, developed this approach to therapy based on those observations. Somatic experiencing is the work that resulted, and that has been kind of a cornerstone of somatic therapy. So check out this book here, Waking the Tiger. Then also during the 70s, Ron Kurtz was developing the Hakomi method, which is an approach in which the therapist will attune and guide the client to pay attention to body sensation moment to moment. And here's a fantastic book on the Hakomi method. Fast forward to the 80s, Pat Ogden was developing sensory motor psychotherapy, and then there was the development of EMDR, and really then just a wide variety of approaches started to emerge, and somatic therapy is now a staple. So there are two more books I just want to mention. One is The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, a fantastic overview that is for anyone. It really fleshes things out, gives a lot of examples. And the other is Your Body is Your Brain, and that's just a fantastic overview of how the brain is embodied. It's kind of an overview of embodiment. Let's now take things home with looking at the various aspects that will be at play in a somatic therapy session. The first is, you guessed it, body awareness, right? So noticing one's body and its sensations. So a therapist might ask a client to, notice if they're upset, what is it in their body that lets them know they're upset? Is it, a dark feeling in the chest? Is it a tightening in the stomach? Then also they'll be helping them to ground. Grounding is an especially helpful tool for centering and becoming present in the here and now of our environment. Feeling one's body sink into the chair as I speak. Right now, I'm grounding. And then resourcing, which is so key, is about feeling those things which help us feel safe and stable. Those things that regulate us. Okay, a sense of okayness, right? So like right now, is there anything about your experience that is even slightly pleasant? I just noticed that breath come through my body, and I just notice how, the light is hitting me. It's a very soft light. It feels good. And there's just a slight okayness about that experience. So I mentioned movement, gestures, and then imagery. Our body tells the story of our unhealed past. And there are so many tools that the therapist can use in the moment to really hone in on what that story is. And the movements can help to actually release some of that stored energy. Boundaries, huge topic. Boundaries are simply a sense of this is me and that's you. A sense of one's own limits, one's own self. I just want to read this quote. It's by Dr. Ariel Schwartz. Having clear boundaries helps you adapt the level of emotional or physical intimacy in the moment. Maintaining successful boundaries involves accepting the fact that you cannot please others all of the time. They help you ask for what you need, even though you may be told no or risk feeling rejected. Ultimately, healthy boundaries facilitate self-respect and a sense of your own worth. When we talk about self-worth, self-esteem, I am enough, all of that good stuff, we start by cultivating healthy boundaries. Emotional release or emotional discharge is what it sounds like, and that will be a part of the session, usually through the three things of shaking, laughing, or crying, right? And it's all good, it's all welcome. Titration and pendulation, okay? These are two technical terms that speak to the process of going and feeling into something stressful and then alternating over to something non-stressful or resourcing, and then going back to the stressful and back to the resource, and doing so in slow, methodical way. That's the titration. The pendulation is the oscillation back and forth. Okay, so that's all I'll say about this now. And then co-regulation. You know, co-regulation is simply the fact that when we connect to another person, we feel their warmth and their care, and it helps contain the whole experience. Otherwise, we would just all sit in our rooms by ourselves and process things, but it is the fact that we need each other. And then there's a little bit of a body work piece, usually. Using touch and attunement to listen to the body and help move some of that stuck energy, whether that's energy work or hands-on. So that's a brief overview, a rough overview of somatic therapy. I hope some of it has made sense and or resonated with you. And if it did, give it a try. Find a somatic therapist near you and give it a shot. And thank you for listening.